Now, before I get started with this commentary, I have to give a shout out to the amazing Lucas, because he was one of the few people, actually the only person I saw actually do a stream talking about this. He talked about other things, but he talked about this first in a stream he recently did. You probably won't be able to find it because he usually takes his streams down and then he cuts it up into individual videos. So you might be able to find it on his channel. If he does have it up before I upload my commentary about it, I'll leave the link to his below and you'll see what he has to say about it. But our ideals or ideology almost links up exactly alike when it comes to this person, because I actually was able to listen to what he had to say about this. So this guy's, so you have a picture of this guy right here. His name is Brian I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I do know his name is Brian. I'm sure he's going to say it in this video or this audio, because I'm not going to play the video because I don't know how the copyright thing will work. So I will leave the link to the original video down below, but you're just going to hear what he has to say, and trust and believe everything that this guy says is just absolutely ridiculous. So he's a self-proclaimed biracial man, and you'll actually hear him say that in the video. So he pretty much, we already know what he claims, and he basically puts CRT on blast. And it was this commentary that you're going to hear that made me finally want to look up, when did CRT get started? And when I looked it up, it said that CRT got started got founded in 1989. That was the same year I was born. So me and CRT are the same age. So it is about 33 years old. Well, I'm not 33 yet, but I'll be 33 in a couple months. But it's this in its 33rd year. It also said that it has been in studies since like the 70s before they made it a solidified thing. So my thing is this: why the outrage about CRT now when it's been around for over 3 decades, probably more, because if we're including the studies, it's been around for almost 5 decades in that case. Why the outrage now? Where was the outrage then? Because the way that they're getting mad and upset about it, and I said this in Lucas's chat, if they're upset about it now, or if they weren't upset about it then, why are they upset about it now? And they're treating it as if CRT came out within the last year, because that's when it cranked up. So to those of you out there, CRT, or critical race theory, is not a new concept. It is very old, as a matter of fact. It's an old concept, but they springboarded it back into the 21st century to make it seem like it's brand new. And to be quite honest, many of the people that's outraged about it probably already knew this thing existed, but they just had to find something to be outraged about. It was probably something they knew about that they buried, but they're mad that it has now made itself back to the surface. But I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let this thing play. But you know what? It's going to be some stop and go in there, because like I said, there's going to be some stuff in there he says that's just like absolutely ridiculous.
25, Brian Echevarria.
Echevarria. So that's his last name. So that last name alone lets me know that he is definitely not FBA. How many straight up and down black people you know with that last name? He says he's biracial.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much.
And by the way, this little stunt was in North Carolina, and it was recent too. It was on February 17th, because that's when this the video that you're listening to was posted on the 17th, but the actual live of it before it was posted was on February 14th.
Thank you for your service. Obviously, you guys give of yourselves to do what you're doing. The community, I think we recognize that now that the political juice has been sucked out of the mass distraction, that we have to move forward. And one of the things I wanted to thank you for tonight was the resolution, the non-discrimination resolution, the CRT deal, because it's happening. And as a parent, I speak to other parents. There's a few things that we don't want. I'm biracial, I'm bilingual, I'm multicultural.
So he says, I'm biracial, I'm bilingual, I'm multicultural. So he's biracial, meaning he has his two different ethnic background parents. He said he's bilingual, which means he speaks more than one language. But then he says he's multicultural. Now, when someone tells me they're multicultural, that almost, to me, cancels out biracial. Because now it seems like now it's a third party involved somewhere in there. All in all, he's what people would, at one point in time, and even maybe still today, would call a mutt. Like, you have a lot of stuff going on inside of you. It's a lot going on. This guy might have an identity crisis himself. I'm almost guaranteeing that his kids, and watch what he refers to his kids as in a few minutes. Well, not even a few minutes, but it's coming up real soon. Are going to have an identity crisis as well.
In America, in North Carolina, I can do anything I want, and I teach that to my children. And the person who tells my little pecan-colored kids that
his little pecan-colored kids, he refers to his kids as pecan-colored. I don't know about y'all, but if I had a parent that told me that my skin tone that reminds them of a pecan, I would be offended. I would be highly offended. Don't say I look like no damn pecan and think that's supposed to be a compliment.
Somehow oppressed based on the color of their skin would be absolutely wrong and absolutely at war with me. And I think that.
So he said for someone to tell his kids, his little pecan colored kids, as he called them, not me, him, to say that they're being oppressed because of the color of their skin, he just basically saying that that's wrong and there's no way that would exist. You know, the same sentiment happened a few years ago where you had this black man, and y'all probably know where I'm going with this, in I guess the upper northeast in Connecticut somewhere, in one of those bougie areas. He had a guy, he was a black man, straight up and down black man, no mix, and his wife was black as well. And they, basically made it. They made it. It's almost like they were in Bel Air. And, they have 3 black sons. And he basically was going through and trying to tell them, the same thing he's saying right here, that race, you don't have to worry about that because of where you live and everything like that. Well, one day, his sons were coming home from school, and these individuals who happened to be PC was driving down whatever block it was, because they weren't near home. They were at school or coming home from school. And one of them yelled out the window and called them the N-word and probably some other racial slurs and drove off. They said that their boys came home and told them about what happened and was crying and didn't know why. That is exactly why it is extremely dangerous if you are a parent, especially a black parent, and you are not telling your kids the way how this world works. Do not think for 1 second that your money or your skin tone, if you happen to be biracial or whatever the case may be, is going to protect your offspring. That guy got his wake-up call through his kids. Now I'm very sure they've had that conversation since then. See, he thought his money and influence was going to shield and protect his children, but it didn't. So their kids got a wake-up call that day. And I was so mad to have to listen to that come from him, not only from, from the standpoint of him saying, we don't teach our kids about this because they won't have to deal with it, and then it happens. He actually thought his money and influence or whatever power he may have was going to shield his children from Dub S. That's not how that works. Dub S supersedes is like the king on a chessboard. It's like the big joker when you're playing spades. Nothing beats the big joker. And he found out that day. Unfortunately, it came through his kids. And see, if he had told his kids about what it was, his kids would have known how to deal with that. It would have hurt. It would have stung because, when you're young and you're kids, you don't expect to, hopefully run into anything like that. But look at the world and the society that we live in today. And this was a few years ago. When I say a few years ago, I'm talking about, if I had to guess when I saw that, this was before I started doing YouTube videos, at least consistently, like how y'all in the format that I'm doing them now. This was actually, I'll take it a step further. This was the video that I saw was before the whole Taurean rain persona came about. Y'all didn't know me and I didn't know y'all. That's how, a while ago that video was. And I still remember it vividly. If I didn't remember anything else that I took away from that video, I remember that. I wonder where his kids are now. Now, of course, at the time when this happened, his kids were like in elementary school. They're probably like maybe in college now or college age now. College, high school at the least. But let me go ahead and get back into it.
The same for every parent. What the mask showed us is that the parents, the most powerful group of people in our country, that they're taking back.
Now, you can't see it because y'all can't, the video's not moving. But when he said that, he looked back to the parents, he looked back to the crowd and started like, doing this whole presentation. And there's a reason why he's doing this. And I'm going to show y'all what I mean when this audio is done playing.
The wheel. Now, obviously, we had to take the wheel back for the mask, but we're taking the wheel back from Washington all the way to Raleigh and into our local school board.
And also keep in mind, he keeps saying, take the wheel back, take the wheel back, take the wheel back. That leads into not the next point, but what I'm going to talk about when this audio is done playing. Keep that in mind. Like, keep that take the wheel back thing in mind.
Because CRT, all of that, the parents don't want it. It's a big fat lie. There's not one if you believe in CRT, I want to tell you, you're a liar.
He said, if you believe that in CRT, then you are a liar. Even though they have pretty much said that CRT is actually a thing. I just told y'all they actually founded that CRT was a thing back in '89. So it is indeed a thing. It is indeed a thing. When he's talking, he's not talking to the black people in this audience or the black people that are there. He's talking to the white people that are there. Those are the only ones right there that are agreeing with him. That's who he's talking to. That's who he's catering to.
Because that means you look at your black neighbor and say that they're oppressed, and you look at your white neighbor and say that they're evil, regardless of the experience that you've had with them. And we're not going to do that. The parents in the United States of America, right here in North Carolina and Cabarrus County, we know that's not true because we believe the lives we live. The fact is, I've been a business owner right here in North Carolina, and I deal with white people, black people, Hispanic people. My children deal with everybody. And the racism is only happening at the government level and on the media.
He just told up a straight up lie right there. He said that racism is only on a government level and in the media. Yeah, he's setting his kids up. His kids are gonna have that same experience that I was telling you about in Connecticut. I'm calling it now. He sat up there and said that the racism is only on a government and media level. Are you kidding me? So what was going on just in the last couple of years alone? That was all on a government and media level. So you're telling me that's what was going on? Not saying that the government and the media don't play a hand in it, but it's much more deeper than just those two entities. As a matter of fact, they're almost on the short end of that. This guy is sitting up there telling a bunch of BS to his, you know what, I almost said too much. Let me go ahead and continue.
The fact is, you have racists, and there's you can't even find them hardly. You just hear the stories about them.
You can't find them hard. I bet this guy probably has dealt with racism in his life, but he just laughed it off because, hey, I'm biracial. I'm not one of the niggas. That's probably what's going through his head. I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of those individuals. And y'all know what I mean.
But this is what we're dealing with. The parents are taking the wheel. I have an 8-year-old daughter who is
again taking the wheel. He said it again. Like I said, keep in mind why he keeps saying that.
Absolutely dynamic, who can do anything athletically, intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally. She is a dynamo, and I don't want a man swimming against her in the pool.
Now that's when he said that part about a man swimming in the pool. That is basically a dig at Leah Thomas, the trans who is competing with women or as far as I'm concerned, competing against them, because listen, that person is still a man masquerading as a woman. And speaking to Leah Thomas, I saw something about them the other day talking about that they broke records. I said, I bet they did. I wonder how. I wonder why. But yeah, they just talk. That's what he's talking about right there was Leah Thomas.
The fact is, I don't want her playing against boys in soccer. I don't even let my sons rough her up. Do you think I'm going to let your son rough her up? This is what we're talking about. Policy going back to the parents. Because if you think people who love America are willing to fight for it, you haven't met parents yet. Because I'm telling you, parents will go further down any street than anyone who loves their country alone. My name is Brian Echevarria. I thank you for your service, and we're taking back the wheel.
Again, he said, we're taking back the wheel again. That's like the 5th time he said it. Now, I'm going to pause this and tell you why I believe he kept saying that. Look at this little piece right here that's on the New York Post. Brian Echevarria, a father of 3 who was running for the North Carolina General Assembly, slammed CRT, a discrimination revolution, when he addressed the Cabarrus County School Board hearing on February 14th. Running for the North Carolina General Assembly. The reason why I believe he kept saying taking back the wheel, and the way he was talking to that audience, more so, like not so much as a concerned parent, but more so as a politician, is because he's running for a political seat. This whole little thing he did that y'all heard was nothing more than a big, giant campaigning event for him, to try to make people remember who he is, remember his voice and his tone, his face and his name. So when those signs go up, oh, he was the guy that spoke at the CRT thing, I'm gonna vote for him because he speaks to me. And that is signed PC. Because he did not speak to me. But then again, I don't live in North Carolina, so I couldn't vote for him. And if I lived in North Carolina, he would not get my vote. But yeah, this was nothing more than a giant campaign moment for him. That's all he was doing. He was campaigning. He could have got up there and said a whole bunch of BS, which he did, and he probably knows it, but he knew who to hit or who to target with those words. Because black people, if you notice, aren't really up in arms about CRT like that. Except for the Sambos, of course. But it's PC who's mad the most about it. So that's who he was talking to. That's who he wants that's who he wants his votes from, because to be honest, he probably knows he is not in good graces with the black community. And he probably knows it. So he says, let me go and get a new base. Oh, I know. Let me talk about critical race theory in this tone, and they'll be on my side. And if you look at the room, the people who were smiling the most and clapping was the people that he was talking to, which was PC. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end the video on that note. Y'all know, let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you're new, make sure you hit that bell to be notified every time I upload a new video or go live.